Hey everybody, welcome back. I haven't said that in a while, so sorry. It's been about 6 months since our last video. If you're new around here, this is Harris Family Adventures. We did a bunch of travel a couple of years ago. We've actually done quite a bit of travel in the last 6 months as well. One of them was a trip with my whole family to Florida, but I didn't really turn that into a video just because it was a pretty unique experience just to us. And then another one, we went to the Barcelo, Justin, Reese, and I, our son. But I've made Barcelo videos and not much changed. So if you have any questions, always go ahead and leave them below. But I am back to talk about a different Mexican all-inclusive. So I know a lot of people find our channel through the Valentine videos, and the Valentine is located south of Cancun. This time it was just Justin and I, which is the first time since 2014 that just Justin and I went. And we went to Cabo. So our very first all-inclusive ever was in 2010, which is a long time ago. And we went to Cabo with my parents and my sister and brother-in-law, and we went to the Riu Santa Fe. And at that point, 14 years ago, the Riu Santa Fe was kind of its own hotel. The Riu is a huge chain internationally, but at that point it was just that Riu Santa Fe, and we loved it. It was our first all-inclusive experience. It was fantastic. So when Justin and I were looking at going for our birthdays in September, we decided to go back to Cabo. I was really excited because I love that climate. I love the dry climate much more than the humid one. We have enough humidity in Nebraska. We don't need to have that on vacation. I do know, and one of the reasons we don't really go to Cabo with my family is there are a lot of people in my family that like the ocean, and I know for Cabo, the ocean just is very, very dangerous. I don't think we saw anybody in the ocean the whole time we were there. So anyway, we went to the Riu Palace Baja California. Now, in my notes, the very first thing I have is there are a ton of Riu palaces. So while we were there, I heard various people say like, oh, we stayed at the Riu Palace here, we stayed at the Riu Palace there. So it can be a little bit confusing. We stayed at the Riu Palace Baja California. It is part of a 3-property complex, I guess, in Cabo San Lucas. So there's the Riu Palace Baja California, which is the adults only. Next to it is the Riu Santa Fe, which is much different than when we went 14 years ago. And then there is another Riu property as well. Now I have watched some videos and it gets a little bit confusing in terms of what we can access and what we can't access. I know we could have gone to the Santa Fe for some of the parties, and we'll talk about the parties in just a bit. I don't know if we could have accessed the restaurants and so forth because we were not part of the elite club. I will link below a video. She is wonderful, and she has all the information about if you're elite club, because some Rius offer that, some don't. And if you are, that means different things. But if you're at a Riu that doesn't offer the elite club, then it means different. It's very confusing. It's very confusing. We were not elite. Here's a spoiler alert. I would go elite next time. So we're just gonna run through my notes here. We stayed for 5 nights and our transfers were included. I'm not sure, like at the Valentine, if you stay 5 nights, I know the transfers are included. I don't remember when I booked this 6 months ago, if there is a night minimum to have the transfers included. The transfers are through destination services, and it was fine. When we arrived and we navigated the Cabo airport, and I might need to make a whole video about the Cabo airport, it was just chaotic. And I say that as somebody who goes through the Cancun airport about twice a year. The Cabo one, landing and coming in was very chaotic. But once we found our destination services, the guy actually had lived in Nebraska before, which you don't run into very often. He knew kind of all about the town that we live in. And then he's like, well, let's get you to the bus. And it was a huge bus and it was full. And we had to wait maybe 5 minutes before like one other couple got on, and then we were at capacity and we left. I would have been frustrated if we were one of the first people on the bus and had to wait for it to fill up. Coming back through destination services, they picked us up on time. It was a small van, so it could hold 8 passengers plus the driver. So 4 of us got on at our location. Then we drove a ways, I think, to a Hilton and picked up 2 more. And then we stopped at another place and we sat there for about 20 minutes waiting for 2 more people to pick up, but they didn't ever show. I was getting a little anxious just because we hadn't flown out of the Cabo airport in a while and I was worried we weren't going to make it. We made it just fine. Transportation might be something that we go ahead and take care of on our own if we go back, just to have a little bit more control over it. But it was fine. It was included and it was fine. It did take us about 40 to 45 minutes. Again, we hadn't been to Cabo in 14 years, so we enjoyed the drive of being able to look around. It was a very nice bus that we were on, so just look around, take in the scenery. You can see the ocean for most of the drive. That's really different from that drive when you land in Cancun. If you're going somewhere in the Riviera Maya section, you're just going to kind of see jungle and you're not going to get to see that ocean as you drive, but we did get to see the ocean most of the ways, and that was awesome. We were able to check in online. This was something that the Riu had emailed me about. It was available. I think I did it through the app, maybe their website, I don't remember. And I didn't know. Mexican all-inclusive, sometimes that check-in process, even at the Valentine, which you guys know we love, 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 sometimes it can be kind of like buying a car. Like you just kind of sit there and then there's this form and there's this form and make a copy of the passport and there's this and there's this. So I was like, well, we'll see. I checked in online. I did have to type in our passport information. And when we got off the bus, he said, oh, I can see you checked in online. I think he glanced at our passports. He didn't have to make a copy of them. Check-in in total took maybe 5 minutes. It was awesome. I think we had to sign 2 things and he gave us like the key, the towel key things that you use to turn in for towels. He showed us, or he told us where our room was. He didn't try to upsell us at all, which we probably would have agreed to an upsell, but he didn't try. That was about 1 o'clock Cabo time and our room was ready and we were able to check in. So I know for Elite Club, they do offer that you can have like an earlier check-in. We were not Elite. We were able, our room was ready at 1 o'clock and it was awesome. And it was very seamless. So that is a definite pro. The whole time we kept kind of comparing the Riu to the Barcelo and to the Valentine. We've been to some other inclusives, but those are the ones we know the most. And I will say the Riu, by far and away, the check-in was the best. Our room was really nice. I didn't take a room tour. There's tons of room tours on YouTube of the Riu Palace Baja California, so you can look at that. It looks like the Elite Club is very similar to the other rooms in terms of size and layout. It is a little bit different in the mini bar. We did not have snacks in our mini bar, which I did not like, because sometimes just a bag of potato chips and like a Diet Pepsi or a Diet Coke is just hits the spot, and they didn't have that. I know in the Elite they do. It is open concept, like real open. So there is a room for the toilet. The shower is a frosted door, but the sinks are there. There is no separation. The tub is in the middle of the room. I did not like that, not even necessarily the privacy part of it, but I wake up pretty early and I like to kind of get up and then sneak into the bathroom, and then I can kind of get my contacts in and wash my face and get sunscreen on and kind of get ready for the day. And I was trying to do that as quietly as possible. So I did not enjoy the open room concept. Also, just know if you're going with your friends or something, it's open. It is open. There was a ton of storage though. We had so much storage, which was awesome. Usually with hangers, I end up hanging like 2 shirts at a time on a hanger. Didn't have to do that. They had so many hangers. It's just those little things, like having more than enough hangers, which is awesome. Having more than enough drawer space and shelves and things like that. It was great. There was a safe as well, and I took my laptop and it fit just fine. We had no problems with the safe ever. We did not have robes, which is a big thing. So I watched the videos. They said in the Elite, unfortunately I watched this one after we got back, Elite Club, you get slippers, which I don't really care about slippers. You also get robes. Apparently in the regular rooms you can also get robes if you call down and you request them. So I wish I would have watched that beforehand. Hopefully you're watching this beforehand. You can apparently call down and request a robe. Now, we met some very nice friends from Canada. They were there on a girls trip and they had also a regular room. They were not Elite, and they said they had robes in their room. So maybe it was left over from the person before. I don't know. But yes, so I like to have a robe. I like to put one on like after I get out of the shower, especially since it's open concept, and like while I'm doing my hair and doing my makeup and that kind of thing. And we did not have robes, so that was kind of a bummer. When we got there, we ate lunch at the buffet. The buffet is beautiful. It is oceanfront, which we love so much. There was no one ever asked us for our room number. I'm trying to think, the couple times that somebody did, we were kind of like, oh, what is our room number? Like, and we were 4221. If anybody's interested. but they would just be like, come sit here, come sit here. They kind of were like fighting for us to come and sit at their table, which was nice. We felt very welcomed. We loved the buffet. We ate there many, many, many times. It was great. We had awesome service. It was fantastic. We spent the afternoon in the pool. They have like 4 pools. So we spent the first afternoon at the pool that has the infinity edge right overlooking the ocean. What's interesting is because it overlooks the beach, the vendors come right up to where like the infinity edge goes over the pool, and they are selling so many different things, just anything. And they're not aggressive, but I mean, they are right there at the edge. We didn't see very many people sitting on the beach. They do have some chairs there. Again, you can't go in the ocean. And because it's that infinity pool, if you're at the pool, it's kind of the same view as if you were sitting down in the sand. And I can only imagine that the vendors would be pretty aggressive down there as well. So we did not take advantage of the beach, but we spent the afternoon in the pool. The one closest to the beach is the one where they do the activities like the water aerobics and that type of thing. The next day we spent the day at the beach a little bit further inward. And the day after that, we did try some other pools as well. We never sat at the infinity pool that has the pool bar. That seemed kind of like the wild, crazy pool, and we did not spend any time there. Like I said, they did have some activities. There wasn't a ton. I would say maybe 3 to 4 a day. So it wasn't kind of like a constant thing. I would say use the app. There is no paper copy. Make sure you have that app downloaded before you go. I don't make sure, like they have Wi-Fi there. So if you get there and you need to do it, you can. But that's what you use. And I found that to be pretty accurate. They also had like a board posted that explained all the activities also. We had really good drink service. They do offer drinks at your chair or in the pool. We had really good service there. We do always tip. I noticed fewer people tipping this time. I don't know what the difference was. We always tipped and we had fantastic service. We did go to the buffet that night for dinner. What's great is the steakhouse grill, which we went our second night. Men can wear shorts there. Otherwise, the other restaurants, they have to wear pants. Justin just wants to be casual, so we ate only one restaurant, and that was the steakhouse, which we'll talk about. The rest of the time we did buffet. And they do have like themed nights, like Italian night or Mexican night. And they would have a couple dishes for that, but otherwise the dishes, so if you're like, oh, I don't really like Italian food, you can still go to the buffet. You'll find plenty to eat. That night, the activity was karaoke, and I really liked how they did their evening activities. It's called The Stage. Our bellman explained this to us as he was walking us to our room, and it's just this big open area. That's where there is the coffee bar. That's where there is a couple other bars around. They also do tableside service, so you don't have to go to a bar to get a drink. And you can sit kind of a ways back, and so you could just chat amongst, your party, or you could sit pretty close to the stage if you wanted. So it was great because you could be part of it, but you don't have to be, and you could kind of also enjoy your evening just out in the beautiful ocean breezes. That first night, we experienced something we've never experienced in Mexico, and that was our room was too cold. Yes, you heard me right. It was too cold. Like, it was so cold in our room. We've never had that problem. If you see my packing videos, I take a fan, and that first morning I like repacked the fan because I was like, I don't need to spend any nightstand space on this because it was cold in our room, which was delightful. Like, I'm saying that with a smile, but just know that. I mean, that's awesome. We did go in September, so I know that's not like the peak heat, but it was still pretty warm during the day. So we got there on a Thursday. Friday, like I said, we hit the buffet again. We really enjoyed the breakfast buffet. Sat at a little bit different spot, had great service. There was tons of seats, and every 2 seats had an umbrella. So if you've seen my Valentine videos, I am the chair saver. I get up early. I know it's against the rules. I get up, I save the chairs. It's what I do. It's how I get a seat in the shade. Never. And we luckily had realized that on Thursday in the afternoon, like, oh my gosh, there's so many seats available with umbrellas. So I didn't feel the need to even worry about it in the morning. And it was so nice just to not even have to think about it. There were so many seats, umbrellas aplenty. It was awesome. We had lunch at Pepe's. This is a definite pro for the Riu. Palace Baja California, because I don't know if all Rius have this. They had a poolside grill and there was hamburgers and hot dogs and chicken sandwiches that were so good. Then they'd also have like chips and french fries. One day they had coleslaw, so it was a little bit of a mix throughout the day. They had tacos, and you would just go get a plate, fill it, go back to your seat by the pool. I think they probably they didn't want you eating in the pool. I didn't see anybody doing that. People just ate in their chairs, and it was awesome. And on the garbage cans, they had a little slot on the side to put empty dishes. And it was so nice. It was so nice. And yes, you can go to the buffet. You can wear your swimwear if you have like a cover up on overall. So it would have taken us putting on a cover up on our shoes, but just to, 10 out of 10. Pepe's Bistro, loved it. It was such a great option. Like I said, that pool that has the pool bar inside, that tended to get a little bit rowdy. We had some bachelor and bachelorette parties there, which, people watching, that was so fun. We just never got in that pool. That night we did go to the steakhouse, and what was interesting when we sat down, and we got there pretty early, we got there around 5:30 because we had seen the night before that some of the restaurants, there were a lot of people waiting, is when the waiter came and he was so nice, he was great, but he was like, okay, so how it works is you scan the QR code. If you've watched, you know how I feel about that, but you get one appetizer each and one entree each and one side each. We were like, oh, okay. So also a first in Mexico, we've never been told that there's a limit to what you can get, because sometimes I'll really like the things on the appetizer list, but maybe not, and we've never had sides listed individually, but we've definitely been part of a table where somebody's gotten 2 entrees and no appetizers, or 2 appetizers and no entree, or any mix of those things. And so to have that limit was interesting because it's also right next to the buffet. So what would have stopped us from then going to the buffet and loading up on food, or going to another restaurant? I don't know. It was interesting that they had that limit. And again, he was very kind about it, but it was just, that was interesting. The food was okay. I wouldn't go back. It was fine. We enjoyed, again, some drinks kind of near the stage. We just talked with each other and just kind of, had good conversation while there was things going on this stage. We had great service. The cappuccino coffee bar in the stage area, their carrot cake, and I'm not even a huge carrot cake person. It just looked good, so I got a piece. So good. So good. They have a lot of desserts there. Carrot cake is so good. And then the show that night was the Michael Jackson show. And I say that with a smile because I don't think we've ever gone to an all-inclusive where they haven't had a Michael Jackson show. Mexico all-inclusives, they just love their Michael Jackson impersonators. So we were kind of like, okay. And we weren't sitting near the stage because it was like, oh, we've seen, no, you guys, he was so good. And the show was so good. Like the backup dancers, it was awesome. It was a great show. The other entertainment that was offered during that day was the pink party. So this was a party that was offered at the Santa Fe. We would have been able to go. I don't think you had to wear pink. A lot of people did wear pink. We could hear it and we could see glimpses of it from our room because of where our room was located. And it was loud. It wasn't like, it wasn't overwhelmingly loud, but we could hear it. And the friends we met the next day, they had gone just to like kind of people watch, and they said it got real wild and rowdy. They had lined up wheelchairs, and then if people needed to be put in the wheelchair because of drinking, then they would just put their room number on their forehead so they could get them back to where they needed to be. And they said the drinks were very strong. So just know that I kind of wish we could have gone just for the people watching, but we didn't. Next time, we probably will. The next day, again, we had breakfast at the buffet, sat by another pool, again, had fantastic service. It was just beautiful. There's always that nice breeze, and just being able to sit in the pool temperature was fantastic. It was kind of cool as you got in, but you got adjusted. To be able to just sit in the pool and see the ocean, which is something that we do not experience at other places. Again, we had Pepe's lunch and it was great. Internet, I typically would read by the pool. Justin would often watch YouTube videos or listen to podcasts, and the internet was great. We had no problems with service there. There was a buffet that night, and then there was a band, and they were good. That night there was a neon party at the Santa Fe. So again, we could see glimpses of it, and I think it was like 6:30 to 11. I mean, when they say party, like these are long parties. We did not go to that, but they were doing things like even at our spot, at our resort, they were doing body painting if you wanted to go over there. So it was kind of like the body paint that would show up in a black light type of thing. So they went all in on the parties. We just did not. Sunday again was the buffet. We sat in the same chairs. I just put Saturday times 2. It was kind of just a redo of the day before. We just had such a nice time. I will say the people, it seemed just really, really friendly. Everybody was just, Justin and I are very introverted. And once we've had maybe a cocktail, we get a little bit more extroverted, but everybody made friends with everybody else. It wasn't in your face. I mean, if you didn't want to, you didn't have to, obviously, but it was just there was a really good sense of like camaraderie kind of thing. Like we were just kind of all in it together. I never saw anybody get angry with anybody else, or it just seemed like everybody was just there to have a good time. But what was nice is if you were there to like have a good time, you could go to the Santa Fe next door, or if you're just like have a good time, you just hang out at our place, which I think is awesome. It kind of fulfilled everybody's wish list in that way. Monday was our last full day there. Again, we did actually the buffet for breakfast and lunch that day. Justin had wanted to stay out of the sun, so he actually went up to the room, and then I said, well, I can bring up Pepe's to the room for lunch, and he was like, oh, let's just go to the buffet. We hadn't done that for lunch for a couple of days, so we did that and really enjoyed it. In the afternoon, I went and sat again just to read a book, and I will say I didn't have as great of a service, but it was fine. Kind of moved chairs. We sat at a different pool that was a little bit farther away in the morning, and it was just really, really, really hot. So Jess went upstairs and I moved chairs. So got to kind of pick where you're going to catch that breeze. Tuesday, we came home. Like I said, kind of the transfers. We were able to get the Cabo Airport. It was super slick and handy. We saw one couple, they must have stayed at a real fancy place. They had like their hotel escort them like through the process. You did not need an escort. There was no waiting for anything, and it was so clean. The Cabo Airport was so clean and nice, and in Cancun, it's kind of dirty and it's really noisy and it's really big. I mean, the Cabo one is a lot smaller, but Cancun is really big, and they don't tell you what your gate is until like an hour before, so you're all kind of in this holding area. Cabo, you know where your gate is, you go and you sit, and just seemed calmer and awesome. I see that we're getting close, but I'm going to try to quickly run through my pro-con list, so everything is in one video. Pros of the Riu, the temperature in the room. It was awesome. The fact, again, I cannot believe that I'm saying the words it was too cold, because we've never had that before, so awesome. And of course, there was an adjustable thermostat, so we kept adjusting until we found like our perfect temperature, but that's awesome. The buffet, having a buffet open for 3 meals a day with a huge variety of food. Now, the friends that we go to the Valentine with, she has celiac, so I was kind of looking at like what the gluten-free options would be. They don't really have as many. She would have been quite limited, so that is, I guess, a con in there. It was just beautiful. We had fantastic service. Again, I think there was one time that the service, it wasn't great, but that was like thinking of like 3 hours of the whole time we were there, so that really saying a lot. The fact that they had a coffee bar, I know the Valentine now has a coffee bar, but this is kind of in the heart of it all, and they had a ton of coffee drinks and sweets and all kinds of things. I love that. I think in terms of the entertainment, there wasn't as much entertainment, but the quality was really good. So there wasn't as much to do. Again, I think if you are going next door and you're using those Santa Fe activities, you're going to have a lot more, and that's fine. That's not what we really look for. And again, the quality was really good. And then the fact that there were that many chairs in the shade. Now, my sister has a friend who is down at an all-inclusive in the Riviera Maya like last week, and they said the resort was at like 20% capacity or less. So that may be the situation. It may be if you go during a peak time. We have gone in January, March and June, and I've always had a hard time finding chairs in the Riviera Maya section of Cancun. But I've never been in September, so maybe in September I wouldn't have a hard time finding chairs at the other spot. But the fact that there were so many chairs, all with umbrellas available, love that. Some of the cons, like I talked about, we didn't have robes. I guess we could have asked for them. The room service wasn't great. Now, the Barcelona doesn't even have room service. That's free. So if you are regular, your room service options are really limited. If you are elite, they are much more extensive. Elite also comes with, like I said, snacks in the mini bar. Elite also comes with a little bit better view and just some other perks. So I think next time we would go and stay elite, just because sometimes after staying out in the sun all day, it's so great to just sit in your robe on your balcony and eat some delicious room service and just kind of have a chill evening. It just wasn't going to work out that way. So that was a little bit of a bummer. If you care about going in the ocean, just know Cabo's probably not for you. So that's a con, but that's not really a con for me. That the fact that the vendors were pretty aggressive, even if you wanted to sit, you know, if you're like, I'm not going to get in the ocean, but I like to sit on the beach, just know there's going to be vendors. At the Valentine, I mean, we usually spend a half day or so at the beach, and 1 or 2 vendors the whole time. And I'm saying it was like 1 every 5 minutes. So kind of know that. The fact that the restaurants were particular about how many apps and entrees you got, I don't love that. I don't understand it and I don't love it. So that's kind of a con. I don't like that open room concept, the lack of snacks in the mini bar. And then the transfers, I don't love. We did not book it because they had free transfers. Of course, it's included in the price. Next time we probably would just maybe do our own transfer. But I know that was a lot of information. I usually break it up into more videos, but I thought I just got to get these out because we've been back for like a week and a half. So if you have any questions, please go ahead and leave them down below. Again, we've now been to Cabo twice, but one was 14 years ago. So this most recent one to Cabo is probably the only knowledge that I feel comfortable really giving you the updated version on. If you have any questions about that or any questions about the Valentine, because we've been there 5 times, let me know down below. See you next time. Bye.